I'll yield myself 5 minutes. To Mr. Smith, Mr. Kirchhoff, I mentioned to Mr. Padalino the question about whether or not you have concerns or know of concerns in the industry about ability to repay RUS loans if competition by government-backed BTOP programs were to interfere with their business model. Concerns, Mr. Kirchhoff, that you've heard of, know about?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gardner. I think what we're concerned about is that what's being proposed as middle mile is actually putting fiber facilities directly to an end user customer and then encouraging that customer to leave my member's network and to go with EagleNet. As you know, because of where you live, the larger government institutions, schools, community anchor institutions provide a source of revenue to those companies today. And so if you remove that revenue, and yes, Mr. Strickling said that we're not providing to residents and businesses, that's true, but those are also the high-cost, low-revenue customers. So the community anchor institutions are a very important part of our financing. So depending on if a company lost a number of those, it could hurt them financially.
So let me follow up with that, too, because I think you bring up an interesting point. If a anchor institution like a school or a library bought more bandwidth or was provided with more bandwidth than they needed, could they turn around then and sell that excess bandwidth?
In our belief, yes. And in fact, I've stated in my testimony that in fact, we think that they're subsidizing potential new competitors to come into the market. And in many cases, we want that. And I understand that. But in rural communities, as I said before, there's a limited amount of revenue to support a limited amount of networks to be built there.
Mr. Kirchhoff, do you believe that there's overbuild in Colorado?
For my members, do definitely believe that when EagleNet is laying fiber literally right next to the existing fiber optics, we believe that's an overbuild.
Mr. Smith?
I definitely believe there's an overbuild in Vermont, and I believe there's an overbuild in New Hampshire, and I believe there's an overbuild in Maine, although I'm primarily concentrated on Vermont.
And Mr. Kirchhoff, going back to you, have the terms of the House resolution, joint resolution in Colorado, been met, you believe, where it was focused on unserved and underserved areas and not in competition with the private sector? Has that been adhered to?
No, I do not believe it has, particularly the section you highlighted earlier.
And a couple of other questions that I have for you relating to today's testimony. Following up on that statement, EagleNet clearly has gone beyond its mission at that point. Would you agree?
Yes.
And are there areas of the state that are still requiring fiber, actually a state that still need fiber in the ground where EagleNet has not gone?
Well, from our understanding, and they've made changes to their network, but we believe that the western slope, while there may be some service coming from EagleNet, there's certainly not going to be as much as there is on the eastern plains.
Do you think that their business model is sustainable?
I don't know. I don't have any ability to know that. Yeah. But having said that, you know, our companies have been in business for decades, and we struggle occasionally, and we require subsidies from you to make that work. So I don't know how you can sustain that model going forward.
And in the testimony that Mr. Strickling presented, he talked about how you also mentioned this in your testimony, were supportive of EagleNet's efforts. But there was an element almost of sour grapes that was trying to be implied in terms of the opposition and concerns with EagleNet today over the grant. But as I believe, you were bidding on apples and oranges. Is that correct?
Well, I would say I did take exception to the fact that it does sound like it is sour grapes. But we've been trying for 3 years to work with EagleNet to get something done. There was an RFP that was submitted by a group of Northeast Colorado companies that was rejected. I don't know the reason. I heard today it was financial reasons, but I don't know if that's the only reason that was out there.
Some of the letters that I received, and I don't know if you've had a chance to see them or not, but they were submitted for the record. One talking about Blanca, others talking about PC Telecom, where they said they were trying to work with NTIA, trying to convince them that, hey, if you use this infrastructure, we could save you $20 million, I think was the Blanca letter, where they said we could save $20 million if you used this infrastructure, but they never received a response. Do you believe that money was wasted by and through the overbuild?
I can't speak to the savings that those companies are suggesting, but I really believe that there were opportunities for more efficiencies to be able to take that money then and spend it where it's really needed.
See, my time has expired. The gentleman from Vermont.